Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted. With me are my friends and colleagues here.
I'm Nate.
Mark.
Dave.
And today we're going to talk about playing monstrous characters. We've been gaming for a while. We've gamed through numerous editions. And, I don't know about the rest of you, but I always like playing something different. Out of the, core player's handbook, there's always the, play as a human, the elf, the dwarf, It takes extra books in order to get to play something that's a monster.
Right.
So,
now, I know, like, you and Mark out of our group are the ones that usually want to play the monstrous stuff the most. It's one of those topics where some people love it or they hate it. It's like there usually isn't a whole lot of middle ground. Especially on the interwebs, you see people really grumble and complain about it. And matter of fact, I see them do the same thing even with like the demi-human races. Where they get this angst over anything that's not like human. But like for me, when I've been gaming, for right from the beginning, like, and we've talked about this in other videos, but we get to be human every day, so
right.
To play a human is boring. So the dwarves, elves, gnomes, and halflings, even half-orcs, it's something different. Get out of your skin a little bit. I think some people think it's just like, oh, you just want to play that because it has abilities.
Right.
But
Mark's
like, baby.
I'm a Minotaur with a whole bunch of strength modifiers.
I'm not going to say that, mechanically, that there are, choices to be made, on...
I know we're going to explode.
And you know what? It's my phone. I don't know why it's doing that. Did that last night in the car. I thought my car was about to break. I guess I pressed the button.
Can we silence? Silence.
It wasn't a ring. It was somehow this button got depressed.
So put on the chair behind you.
Don't let me leave it.
Hold that, Domo. Oh, you throw it right on the floor.
Oh, jerk. So mechanically, there's definitely some enjoyment on choosing some of those races, but I think thematically, it's definitely interesting, from a role-playing standpoint, to be able to play something. In your game, you got a couple people playing goblins, and they have to deal with the role-playing issue of, hey, people don't tend to interact with goblins in a city, and now you got to deal with that. So when you've got other monstrous races, I think that adds another role-playing challenge, and I actually enjoy that. So
I think back in second edition, there's two main sources for monstrous characters. I want to say Dragonlance kicked it off.
Okay.
With in Dragonlance, you had the option of playing a Minotaur. They had like mini Minotaurs.
Right.
And they also had something called a Urda, which was like this advanced ogre.
Okay.
Kind of race, like almost like an ogre magi, but not even. Like it was completely separate, but those ogre species, because in Dragonlance it was always broken up into the different ages.
Right.
And one of those ages was the ogres, and they weren't like the ogres that we know from the Monster Manual.
Right.
It was a completely, they were sophisticated, they were beautiful, but for whatever reason, they become degenerates over time, and become what we know to be ogres. So the Urda were shapeshifters, and they're like these beautiful ogres you could play, or they had the seafaring Minotaur,
right,
in Kreen. And then later on, we got the Monstrous Humanoid book in second edition, which had a little bit of everything in it.
You could play your Wemmicks, your Mongrelmen, your Lizardmen, your Minotaur, and they were all across. Even Ogre Magi as a player character race. I mean, it was all in there. So it was a lot of fun. I poured over that book many times. I tried to play as many of those different races as I could.
My first experience with playing a monstrous race was actually due to the fact that one of my characters got killed and not resurrected but reincarnated, and I happened to roll Ogre Magi.
Nice.
Which is pretty freaking sweet.
You apparently had a number of reincarnates into monstrous races.
Just two.
Just the two?
Ogre Magi and a Centaur.
I remember the Centaur.
But you know, when it happens like later in the campaign in the game, it's a little more organic.
Right.
So it's definitely totally different because you're not really that thing. You just kind of become that thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I like starting off as a monster because when I first started playing D&D, we weren't allowed to play anything other than your core races.
Uh-huh.
So you always fought against monsters, but you could never play one. And then I started playing with you guys, and I got the opportunity. I think the first one I ever played was a Minotaur. Oh, I had fun with that. The charge, and it was just awesome. And the stat increases don't hurt either. I mean,
Yeah, those are pretty nice.
For a guy who likes power play,
Uh-huh.
what's better than playing a Minotaur or a Bugbear or something, you know?
Or a werebear.
Yeah.
There's been a couple werebears over the years.
Yeah, I think third edition, it definitely changed the scope. Second edition, they had the Humanoids Handbook, and it gave you lots of options. But when you got into third, you got access to pretty much everything that was out there. It gave you the rules for how to say, well, you want to play this race. This is what it takes.
Well, yeah.
Level wise,
With the equivalent level,
right?
having of that,
the
it's
ECL.
like you can play whatever.
But then you also had templates to change something that's already there. It's like, oh, well, I want to play a half-dragon elf. Go for it. It's only a 3. No big deal. I think it was things like trolls and minotaurs in third edition that you had, so many racial hit dice and so many ECL that it was like, it was like, I was talking to you about this earlier about how, while it's cool to be able to play it, you are so below the power level of the party that it's hard to actually deal with things that are on level with you, as fighting the monster.
Well, I found it was the opposite. Like that half dragon elf, he couldn't hang with. If he's an ECL 3 and he's a first level character, that's a 4. He will not handle CR4 monster. He will get totally traipsed. They know. But what we got too in third edition that kind of helped was the Savage Species. That was our Monstrous Humanoid handbook, for third edition. So, and that introduced another concept of, I'm going, all right, well, it literally gave you the baby monster start, where you could actually earn your levels and your hit dice and your abilities.
Right.
Which is kind of weird.
Like I think it was Dragon Magazine that had the were creatures in it, and it took you from first level to 10th. I think it wasn't like you got bit by something and turned into a were creature. You were born that way. And I think I played a werebear at one point, and I got up to like 8th level in it, and it was awesome because it changes how often you can transform, whether you can be like a lot of times when you transform into, like, if you're a werebear, you're either human or a bear. If you're a human, you get your human stats. Or you can transform completely into a bear, and you get bear stats. But at a certain level, you can be in between. You can be the hybrid. The hybrid was awesome.
Of course. And, that's the money shot with the...
That's the whole point.
with the lycanthropes. You want that hybrid.
So that was I really enjoyed that. I would like to see that come into 5th edition. I don't know if it has or not, but
there's not a whole lot for extra content on 5th. I know myself and Nerdarchus Nubs have done some articles on customized races in 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
Converting monsters into playable races.
Yeah, the Wemmick conversion was good.
Thank you.
There's another website doing some good stuff too. I guess you'd seen the Thri-Kreen article.
Yeah, I read the Thri-Kreen, and I read like 2 others, and the stuff was actually really good. I was going to consider contacting them.
Tributary or something like that. I forget the name of it. I'll have to look it up. Maybe put it in the description below.
Speaking of Thri-Kreen, I think I started my first game as a Thri-Kreen in Athos. Didn't we? I'm trying to remember your game.
Yeah, the only thing I remember was like I remember sending a Clara against you guys, and I actually went after Melish's shoulder. Like, ha ha.
So I started off
In the game or
experience.
personally?
Personally,
You're like, take this. I started off Dungeons and Dragons with playing a monstrous humanoid. That was a perfectly legitimate player character in Dark Sun. So I kind of always have been weird with it because it's not like, oh, I finally get to play this, or I don't like it at all. It's like I started off not playing a humanoid,
Right.
a regular humanoid. So that kind of started the ball rolling with my obsession with Thri-Kreen. I was like, I don't play monstrous humanoids that much.
yeah, they
I don't know what
I
you
had
guys
to
are
warm
talking
up to
about, this
those.
cool thing. I was like, because Thri-Kreen, they're people too.
Speaking of Thri-Kreen, I really think that that their monster manual entry for the Thri-Kreen has really set the way for what they plan on doing with Dark Sun. 'Cause, I mean, they've mentioned it, so I'm fairly certain that Dark Sun setting is going to happen, but like it doesn't just say, oh, Thri-Kreen can do this. It's got a variant rule. So like player character Thri-Kreens are not going to be going invisible and doing all these other psionic abilities.
You talking about the psionic variant?
Yeah.
There's just a couple of them though. So I think the Illithid has a variant as well.
Right,
But does the Illithid variant go the other way?
They have psionic power, like spell-like abilities
Yeah.
that are obviously psionic stuff. And then they say, oh, you can also be an arcane mind flare, like have magic power as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they go the opposite way where they're already psionic like powers, like blasts and stuff like
But
that.
the
and they go
Thri-Kreen,
towards
the Thri-Kreen as a monster in previous editions, as a race in previous editions, they were so overly powered with stuff that in third they had to have the ECL. There was no other way about it, and to incorporate that into fifth edition. I think they're foreshadowing with their monster manual entry that they're just not gonna have all of those powers or any of those powers depending upon how they actually stat it out. I think the Thri-Kreen, it's just there is so much there that they had to remove something to be able to make it playable. And with that little block of variant, it literally says, well, some Thri-Kreen develop the ability to use blah 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 powers. So like it's to me it's just foreshadowing.
When we're in Dark
some
Sun,
Thri-Kreens, as in the ones you aren't playing.
yeah. When you're on Dark Sun, you'll have these
So,
abilities.
what I'm saying is even in Dark Sun as a player character race, I just think they're not going to have them because there's no way for them to be able to have all of those powers with everything else a Thri-Kreen can do.
They do get a lot of stuff, but they could go the way of the Tiefling or the Aasimar, where
Right, but there's only so much.
spell effects.
There's only so much you can do with that. How many different powers do they have? 5, 4?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's changed throughout the editions what they were able to do, but I mean, really, like no direction. Is that how powerful is that? Like there's certain things that you're just like, okay, just throw it in there.
It's still an advantage. It's still something that other characters can't do. So, I
So
think
is being able to see in the dark. I mean,
Yeah.
so,
Dark vision. I mean, really, leaping
it's-
like a ninja.
it's-
How much of a weight is that?
it's just a guess. It's based on the monster manual entry. I'm saying it's foreshadowing. So
Hey, that leaping like a ninja could save your life.
It has many times.
it,
They get deflect arrows,
Yeah, that was a really good power.
blur, or chameleon, or whatever the power was called.
Yeah, the leap in like a ninja though didn't stop Ryan's fire priest. He still fell in the lava.
Well,
was that character?
there's
Fire
some
Priest,
Thri-Kreen that don't make it. The lava test, they don't pass it.
Yeah, another one of your games.
I played a Thri-Kreen once. I think it was a monk. Thri-Kreen monk. 'Cause I remember it had, I grappled stuff. But I never really liked the Thri. For me, when I pick a monster's thing...
You're a
when
furry, aren't you?
Shut up.
I see where this is going already.
It's got to be mammalian.
when I pick a monster, or when I make a character, I had to be able to see myself. If something were to happen, we were magically transformed into the world, and you became your actual character. Would I want to walk around looking like that?
Looking like a giant bug.
Yeah, I was like giant praying mantis man. No, That's
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have that kind of alien mind feel to it, which is one of the pluses and one of the drawbacks to trying to play a
See,
Thri-Kreen. It's like, are you playing a Thri-Kreen really well, or are you role playing really crappy? You know, like.
Well, I think that can go for a lot of the monstrous races too, because it's going to have a different mindset.
And I think to me that's part of the enjoyment of the role playing. I've not that we've done it in a while, but Ryan's Dark Sun game, I've got a Thri-Kreen and Nate's got a Thri-Kreen, and our mindsets are very different. He was kind of taken into a society that actually nurtured him more towards a person, and my guy was kind of just brought up to be a thug and a combat engine.
But the nice thing is, you can tell we still have our almost like insectoid and instinctual stuff.
Right.
So there are certain things we're just like, all right, we're going to go do this, and it seems perfectly normal for both of us to go off and do this because that's what Thri-Kreen do.
Right.
Even though I was raised more in the city area, and he's like the wild wolf, raised by wolf children child kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, if you play a monstrous character, you want to just make sure that you are doing the monstrous stuff, or you have to completely go off kilter and have a really cool backstory. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play a goblin, but I'm noble. I was brought up in such and such a household. I'm accepted and blah blah blah. And people are gonna have to deal with this alien concept one way or the other.
I think when you play a monster's character, you have to be able to put your mind in that mindset. You know what I'm saying? When I play a Minotaur, I can literally see myself running through tunnels, goring people and shit. If I play a bugbear, I feel like okay, if I was furry and bearish, sort
even
of
mightier.
yeah, as strong as I should be.
Well, so that's the thing with playing a monstrous character. It's like you're going to go probably one of two routes. You're either going to play with type or against type. And then getting into the mindset of that character and how it is. And that's the really tricky part, even for any non-human races, kind of going like, well, how do they perceive the world around them? How do they think, comparatively to a human? What is, what are their motivations? What are their drives? How do you make it not just about the mechanics and a role-playing experience that you can bring to the table? You can play that fish out of water and try and interact in places where you're not welcome. You're a Minotaur strolling into town. Well, yeah, the guards aren't going to like that at all. And generally, the Minotaurs are there to loot, plunder, or murder and mayhem. So letting you through the gates is probably not top priority.
Be like your entire race is on the list of people we're not allowed in.
Yeah, you're on the don't fly list.
There's literally a chart inside the guardhouse with little monstrous faces with circles and then a line across.
Right, if you're 3 feet tall and look like an ugly baby, you're not allowed in. If you're 8 feet tall and have horns, you're not allowed in.
Yeah, you're lucky if you don't get shot.
I think both of you and Ted and Dave talked about playing against and with type. And I really think there is a good spot for conflicted characters where you have a character that might not like that he's different from the other people he's trying to hang out with, or that kind of character that is trying to flow with normal society, but they've got this one thing that they just can't stand for. Maybe they have a certain particular way of viewing people that are less powerful than them are, like maybe they should be served by those type of people, like from their cultural society. Like an ogre, how's an ogre going to act with normal people? They're going to kind of think that being bigger, that they have several advantages to like kind of people treating them certain ways. Not that they should be treating them with pitchforks and torches, but like giving them things or paying tribute, kind of like some kind of based on how their society works. So, I mean, you can just make that kind of stuff up, how their society works, or how this tribe did whatever, but kind of that, like Man Out of Time feel, where you're not jiving with what's going on, but you're not necessarily like, I'm super, like, Thogar of the woods kind of thing, bugbear, and this is how it's going to roll, and always clashing with everybody. But this kind of like something's out of whack.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like I was thinking, like you guys are talking, like especially like with the Minotaur, like the Minotaur in the party, is he naturally like kind of a bully? Not because it's not like malicious or malevolent, but because that's how their society
It's
interacts.
his natural order. That's what he sees. The reality is, hey, you're smaller than me. Do what I say.
The ranger or the woodsman comes back from the hunt, and the Minotaur demands, either the biggest piece or, the best portion. And, like, it's been so long since, I've actually done, a monstrous race or, had a campaign where there's actual interaction like that. I'm not one...
What, you mean like Saturday? when we negotiated with the Winter Wolf?
Well, I mean that was that was me running, but like as a player at the table, like I generally don't do characters that are seeking conflicts within the party. The DM is putting enough stuff out there, but I mean I've seen it at the table where somebody's like, oh well, this is going on, my character wouldn't like that, wouldn't have it, so I'm gonna raise a stink. We've talked about stories here, where interactions happen, and it's like, well, how are you gonna handle that? So I mean, if you had that situation where you're playing the Minotaur, he possibly could be a bully, be it something as simple as the best cut from the hunt, or choice magic items or choice treasure from the horde that you just fought. That's all stuff that can actually happen.
Right, but it doesn't have to be so one-dimensional, too. It could be other things, like he may insist that he opens the door all the time because he feels he's superior to everyone else and he can take it.
Yeah, I'm the front line because you guys are all compared to me.
Yeah, or maybe that same character that's kind of like bullyish towards the party, then like when it's outsiders interacting with the party, then becomes super protective. Like,
right. Yeah.
This is my clan tribe.
Yeah.
Or, however he views them.
Be like, hey, these are my minion friends.
Yeah,
not your minion friends.
Like almost like their possessions, and he hoards and protects them. So there's different nuances that you can play off of. Where some of them it's like kind of like, all right, you're kind of being dickish because that's how the character kind of would be. But then there's other instances where like, okay, that same character that was just kind of a dick to you is now like your staunchest ally and defender.
Yeah, so it doesn't become a cliche. It becomes an integral part of the character because you can see several different ways that guy having that viewpoint reacts to the world and interacts with the world.
It just turns out that his normal is different than your normal.
Right. Yeah.
He comes from a society where the pecking order goes this way.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know not to do anything different.
Yeah.
Which, and then that's part of the fun is for the character to develop and change over time.
Right.
You kind of grow into it.
That's a good point. I think all of my monsters characters have been like get along kind of guys. I'm in the party, and whether I joined the party late or started with the party, it's like, okay.
You didn't cause waves.
Yeah, but I think that's more my personality being played in a game than me playing a character, because that's how it will be in real life. Okay, whatever.
So that's one of your traits that you seem to always bring across when you're playing.
I gotta stop that. Why do you guys let me do that?
Well, I'm the same way.
We'll break you out of your show. We'll make you a jerk.
I'm the same way. Like I said, the DM puts enough challenge out there that I don't feel the need to bring extra challenge to the party just because I'm there.
I would say it's really motivation for it. Like, did I make this jerk character so I can be jerk to everybody, or did I make this character that has some character flaws, but like Dave said, that also can show the positive light as well. So you can kind of say, like, especially if you know that about your character, like, some people aren't going to like this guy, but I'm not going to go out of my way to make conflict situations. So there's going to be some. But it's kind of one of those, it's like everybody agree to a little bit of conflict, but don't get out of control with it, kind of like.
I think the only time I really did that was when we played that evil campaign, where I was like a psychopath.
Oh yeah, the one Johnny ran.
That didn't last long.
Yeah, and that was it was a different perspective. It kind of made you like, you know, when we play paladins and stuff like that, we see orcs. Just evil orcs. Let's just go kill them. You know. In this instance, we were the evil ones, and we're like, you know, mind our own business, and a group of paladins have them by. Oh, get them! Like, what? What the hell, man?
We're just running our scam, man. We're just running our scam.
How good are you? You're just trying to kill me for no reason.
The shoe is now on the other foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like another thing too is certain like monstrous races that are kind of like meek, like you know how you portray them, like you know maybe the goblin and when it is mealtime, whatever he's given he basically hides to eat it and stuff like that, and you know scoffs it down because he's used to coming from a society where he expects someone bigger to take it from
Or
him.
regularly steals food from the party just because he doesn't know if he's ever going to get another thing from anybody. So like that kind of mentality of
The hoarder.
kind of craven hoarder kind of feel to him.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of different things, and even going off of the Minotaur bully character, like how weird would it be for, you know, the party's first experience for him to be like the staunch ally and defender protector, but then as soon as that threat's gone, he's like pushing people around, like no, that's mine, and I know you brought back the deer carcass, but I get this piece because I'm bigger and stronger than you.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
so,
like, I thought this guy was so awesome.
yeah, and then you're like, now he's a jerk. And it keeps like, so it'd be like almost like like dealing with someone who's bipolar, just because you're not used to, the way they do things, their society.
And that's kind of it brings up some points about kind of where you think you are, and then seeing this other person, your other viewpoint, you're like, well, there must be something wrong with that guy. When there's nothing wrong with him from his perspective, he's acting exactly how he should be. So it's kind of that, like, mimicking real life in that sense of, you see different people's viewpoints. What? Don't look at me like that. However you're looking, don't look at me like that. Mimicking real life with that idea of, you see different characters' perspectives within the game. I'm trying to make a point. I don't really know where it's going, but
so it's different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it all boils down to that. Great.
One of my favorite books in Dragonlance were Kaz the Minotaur. There was only like 1 to 3 of them. I don't even remember how many. It's been so long. But and it would talk about different. They did a good job of pointing out those differences. Or like the first time like they end up camping together, and it's raining. So and from the Minotaur's perspective, how bad a wet human smells. And I'm sure in our games we've had the same scenario where it's like you're stuck with this bugbear who's dripping wet, and it doesn't smell good now because he's a wet bugbear. Think wet dog, only worse.
Yeah, the dog bathes itself.
So yeah. Well, maybe it's a protective layer of grime.
Yeah.
So there's going to be different things like that, and I can understand where people who don't like the monstrous races or other races, their point of view. If all the person is doing is playing the stats and there's no role playing and no character development, and you don't really have a concept
or if you have a group that you're saying this is a heroic campaign, I want good guys, and somebody wants to play a bugbear so they can kill stuff and be evil, I can understand the hesitance there. I myself as a DM, I prefer to make heroic stories. I try to have a party full of good characters who are trying to make the world a better place, even if it's a small section at a time. But I mean, there's nothing to say that you can't play a bugbear, a minotaur, a werebear as a heroic character. Even if you're not, I am a champion of justice. Look, be neutral, be a sellsword, and be in it for the money or the glory, and move on. If you can't do the I want to be the hero.
Well, I mean, again, like there's a concept of player buy-in, right? So if your players aren't buying into what's going on, it doesn't matter if you're playing monstrous humanoids or just regular. It creates this dysfunction in the game where, you guys have all come together to play a game. And, when players start doing that crap where like, well, my character wouldn't do that. Well, I'm like, well, then I guess your character is going to sit in town by himself while everyone else goes off on adventures.
I mean, I was a little worried at first. My game that we ran this weekend. Ryan was talking about exactly that. There was a spot where the players were going to go off in a direction, and if he wasn't going to be involved, well, then it's like, all right, well, you're out of the session for the night.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
like,
much.
So I mean, you have to when you're at a role, when you're at the table, you're role playing. You have to feel out what's going on, and if you decide to play a character who's going to say, "Well, I wouldn't do that," then your character's not going to jive with the story. It's not going to jive with the party. Play something else.
Yeah, it's counterproductive to the whole experience. And this goes especially for monstrous characters. If you want to play a monstrous character, well, you got to find a way for that character to fit in. And if it's a good party, well, it might be that you have to fit in and try and be like uber good to compensate for the fact that you're monstrous.
Yeah, most of your race is evil.
Yeah. So like Drizzt is like the best example, unfortunately. But there's so many books written about that character, and and how he's constantly had to overcome that stigmatism of being a dark elf.
Right.
RA as a writer has done a really good job with that on Drizzt, and actually I think there's several other characters as well that he's done it with, because I think we were having a discussion similar to this, and we're trying to think of other writers that have done it, and are like, no, that's RA again. When it came to that, like, playing against type character.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm all monstrous out by this point.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we covered it. If you have any other ideas, comments, suggestions, feel free to put it below.
Character stories.
Yeah.
Share them. Comment, like, subscribe.
Check
even
us out.
share.
Check us out on Facebook.
You can check us out on Twitter as well, or on Nerdarchy's subreddit, How to Stay Nerdy.
And with that, until next time,
Stay nerdy.